Well, I'm Becky. I'm your Central Kentucky auditor and pretty much run the gamut of Northern Kentucky all the way to Southern Kentucky, kind of out. So we're just going to talk about the review training. Some of you are here because you actually have an audit. Congratulations. You get to see me more than once. If you have questions all the way through this, just raise your hand, just ask. It's fine. I will always prompt for questions at the end of each kind of block we do. Basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to zip through this and talk about the review form that we put out every year. We update it. We've just finished updating it. Has it been blessed yet, Josh? Has it? Okay. It'll go out on our website, so you guys have access to it. So it's not like it's a surprise as to what we're going to be looking at, asking for, talking about. So you can take a look at that. If you have questions before I come out and schedule or do your audit, feel free to ask anytime. It's not a big deal. I'm happy to help any way I can. Everybody that works on this team is right here. Rhonda Devine, you all probably know, is our branch manager. Josh sitting in the back hiding and laughing and pointing at me because he knows I don't like doing this. He's, of course, our IC guru, and I'll help with everything else. Laura Lohman is our contact. If you have SAR questions, growth factor questions, feel free to ask me, and then I'm going to go, hey, you need to talk to Laura, because I have no idea. But I do like to learn, so you feel free to CC me if you would like. Ruth Britt is our Western Kentucky to my Central, and Sasha, who you met outside, signing in, is Eastern to my Central. So if I'm ever not available, you're free to email any of these people. If they don't get back to you, let me know. Oh, just kidding, they will. So if you've been through this before, it's basically the same layout as we've done previous years. So really, there's nothing too new about this discussion that we haven't done before, other than we've updated the form. So basically, we're going to talk about everything on this screen. We'll talk about the reviews, go through the process, kind of the layout of everything. We're going to go through the details of the form between the central office and the school, and kind of how you can get through our wonderful website and do some search. And if you can't find things on the website, you just let me know, send you a link, or I'll send you the form, or both. So at the end, there'll be some other contact information needed. All right. So the obvious reason is why review. Basically, you know, what we try to say to everybody, I mean, everybody hears the word review / audit. We use those two words interchangeably. Word audit freaks people out, so they like review. I say audit a lot because that's where I come from. I don't come from the schools. I come from the audit world. I used to work at the auditor's office. I worked there for over 10 years. So I'm used to that. So I use that word interchangeably with the word review. So it's the same thing to me. Basically, what we're trying to do is make sure you get as much money as you can that you're entitled to anytime. So if we see something that's missing in NIC or missing in your paperwork, we want to make sure that we get it for you and make sure that you understand why. We want to make sure that you're getting everything you need. There's a lot of things in there that you know, I learn along the way from you all. So you guys teach me just as much as I teach you. So, but also we want to make sure that your data is clean, this level, and up to the federal programs that we also, you know, might be looking at and sending up to like LRC, because they're always asking us for data, asking us for information. So anytime we pull that information, we want to make sure that that's ready to go. And anytime you're not on a cycle for a review, it's always good to kind of, you know, maybe pick something to go through to within this form, just kind of spot check your stuff just to see if there's anything that maybe is lacking, especially if you have new people. If you've got new staff, especially attendance staff, this is a good form to go through with them to make sure that they understand what they're doing. You want to make sure that they're setting things up correctly in IC. You want to make sure that they've got the attendance. They've got to make sure that they understand why it's important to have the data correct the first time. And if they don't, make sure they understand why it needs to be corrected within a certain period of time that you all are comfortable with. Not what I'm comfortable with, but what you're comfortable with. This is your data. So if you want stuff corrected the first month before you close it, give them a time frame. Explain why. A lot of it too, it's funding based, but you're also keeping track of kids. You want to know where kids are anytime they're in the building. You don't want to be losing track of kids. So that's the other thing too. So, all right. So we're going to go over the process that we use kind of after we finish calendars in the summer, or as we're wrapping up calendars. It kind of depends. This year was a little hectic for calendars, and I did not get this done as early as I personally like. If you've got an audit coming up, I personally like to get stuff done at the end of July to let you know when you're going to get an audit. I didn't get my letters out, my emails out to the beginning of August because I was so busy with calendars. So that's why we say summer, early fall. Try to get everybody notified. We do have a few years in advance set up. So if you're not up this year and you want to know, let us know. We can tell you when your next one is, especially if you're new and you don't know when your last one was. We're happy to look it up for you. Basically, all I do on the first one is I just let you know you're due. After that, I pretty much just tell you that once school starts, I'll get in touch with you again. I let you all get into school and get going before I'm just going to go, hey, what day do you want to go? No, I'm not going to do that because I have life too. I know how it is when you guys get started. So I will wait until school starts. But the biggest thing to take place is we wait till your second month is done. You have to wait till that's done to be able to get started. So a lot of times, depending on, as an example, when your fall break is, if it's in the beginning of October, as an example, I'm going to wait till after that, more than likely, if it's at the beginning of October, because you're probably not going to get it wrapped up unless you're just have it done and you're like, please get out here and get this done. I've had people ask me to do that before. If you want it done early, feel free to drop me an email and let me know. I've had people have me do that too. But just understand that I've got about 15 that I have to do. And some of them are group, meaning all of us do them, like the big ones, Fayette, JCPS, that kind of thing. So, I have to take those into consideration and not just my personal ones that I'm assigned to. Okay, like I said, August-ish, I'll get in touch with you after school starts. So if you're on a traditional calendar, you'll probably get tagged first. If you're on a variable, obviously, I'm not going to get in touch with you until after the 25th of this year. And you'll probably be last-ish, give or take. Like I said, if you want to do it earlier, just let me know. So variable calendars will go further out because your second month, may take you a little bit longer. But so once we pick a day to do that, I will set up a note to myself. I am forgetful as I get older. A couple of weeks before I come out, I will send you a very detailed list of information and data that I am going to need. It will lay everything out that I will need from your central office specifically, and then I will break it down further by each school that I will need. And I mean each school. So even though it's just one set of bullet points, if I'm going to look at 4 schools, I'm going to need each set of bullet points for each school. So some people get a little confused on that for the first time, and I understand that doesn't, but when we look at each school, we need it from each school. So, and of course, at that time, we're going to be in your IC, poking around, looking at stuff. I might even be doing it before that. Not very much anymore, but in the beginning when I started working here doing this, I didn't have a lot of access to everybody's IC. You have every right to lock us out. But during this process, you can't do that. We do only have read only. First, understand that. That's all we have. We don't have rights to change. None of us do. So we just need rights to run reports and things of that nature so we can get through your review process. We can write your report and get done. Then once that's done and we close it, you can kick us back out if your district feels the need to. So I have a few districts that are like that. But while we're in this process, we have to have access that we need. So, and then once we get to the date, I'll be there, but I'll be just basically at your central office only. We do not travel anymore. Everybody asked that question. That's been around long enough. We don't go to schools anymore. Don't travel all over. Thank you. Go to schools and look at things. We don't do that. Just stay at your central office. So I need a place to sit, plug in, need Wi-Fi for the day or two. Usually it's just a day. But now I'm going to put a caveat in here that I don't normally put in here, just because of some things that over the last year, the school year, because of all of the weather that we had last year. If something comes up for you, district or school, whatever, before I'm supposed to come out, let me know. If you need to reschedule, as long as it's not March, just let me know. I know things come up, and if we can just reschedule and it would work better for you and your staff, just let me know. I'm flexible. I understand life happens. I had to do that last year. I know that we've had tons of weather events. I actually have one in Southern Kentucky that I have to do this year that was impacted by weather. So, or this past school year that I'm going to have to do this year. So, I mean, if something like that were to happen again, you just have to tell me. So, just keep me informed, even if it's at the last minute. So, but I want people to be available, and I don't want it to be a stressor. Okay. So, like I said, central office. And this is when you'll bring all that documentation that I send you the email for, all the information that I need. And like I said, it'll just be there a day. Sometimes it's two. A lot of it'll just depend on what you have available and how many schools you have. And I can pretty much judge that by looking at your head count through IC and how many schools I have to look at. And then sometimes sometimes I'll get thrown a loop and be like, oopsies, have to come back. It may not be the next day. That may not work for you. And if that's what happens, then we'll just move it to another day. I'm a little bit better of a judge than that, but it does happen. So when I leave, I'm going to take everything I got with me. And might make a draft, make an initial report, which is a draft report. And then I will lay everything out. It will not be a surprise because you and I will go through it before I leave. If I find any issues, questions, concerns, we'll discuss them before I walk out the door. We'll have a chance to discuss them with me, show me proof of why it's not a problem or why I misunderstood something, and that's fine too. If there's still an error, I will come back, I will write up my discrepancies. We'll go through them. I will edit it, the draft. I will send it to Rhonda for her proofreading. And then as we go through the process, I will drop the draft to you only. It doesn't go to the super at that point. It just goes to the DPP or your clerk or whomever you would like copied on the email. Because at that point, you guys need to fix it. And I don't really put a time limit on a fix per se. If you have two, I would think it wouldn't take a month. Seriously, not a month. But everybody's life is different. So, all right. I don't do a lot of follow-ups. I know that last one said follow-up. I don't do a ton of follow-ups unless it's just egregious. Follow-ups meaning if I have 75 discrepancies, we have money issues, then yeah, I'm probably going to come back with her. And we're probably going to have to sit down and be like, okay, what's going on? What y'all need help with? And make sure that I found the right things and make sure that I didn't, tell you something wrong too. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. Thankfully, I've only had a couple of those, so it's not like I have to do that a lot. So, but I've also done some over the phone, talk to people, that just want some help with some basic things. So, all right, that's the basics of just getting started. Questions yet? Some of you already have your emails and you're like, huh? All righty. So our review form is in 2 sections. The first set is the central office, and then the second section is a school. So the central office is completed 1 time. Because why? You only have 1 central office. Your school level is done for each school that is chosen. Now, if you only have 1 school, which I do have that a few times because I have a lot of independence, then I only do it once. But if I choose 4 schools, because that's what I have to do, then that section will be done 4 times. We'll do it for each school. Now, everything on there may not apply to every school, especially the elementaries. You're not going to have the virtual, performance-based, and all that stuff. So we're just going to zip right by that and just be like, nope, 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 and just keep going. So some of it will go faster than others. Some districts will go faster than others. That's why I mean it probably won't take 2 days. Like I said, the form is online and it's been approved. We do update it every year because if the laws change, we like to make sure that those are updated on the form. Speaking of that, all the references that we do are at the top of the pages. I've highlighted the first one here as an example. Questions we asked are based in statute and regulation, not just because we feel like it, because we have to. So anytime you have a question as to why, that's where you look. Be clear as mud, but that's when you go. So just as an FYI. All right. So a lot of the things that we do a lot of prep work before we get there. And I mean a lot. We do as much as we can before we get there, just so we can get in and get out. Your jobs are busy, just like ours. So we do as little in your space as we can. I mean, sometimes we have to do more, but we run a lot of reports that we can. So when we start here, these are pretty self-explanatory. But we're obviously going to make a note of your first and your second month dates. They want to make sure that I've communicated with you in number 2 here, that I've sent you an email, that I have my own documentation, that I've said, this is what we're going to be doing. This is when I'm coming and things like that. We're also going to take a look at your prior audits or audit, depending what we can find in the archive. I had some problems last year. So what we're looking for there is anything that is repetitive. So say we had a lot of entry-exit log issues, the prior one. That always is an issue, so that's just an easy one to bring up. Say we had a lot of entry-exit logs in the prior one, and then when I get finished, I note there's a ton of entry-exits again. I'll be like, this is a repeat. It's not like it's another discrepancy, but it's like, you guys really need to work on that. So, and then of course, attendance codes. We love these. We went through the attendance codes, which are exempt codes, over the summer, or spring, or whenever we did them. When did we do those? Thank you, Sasha, because you're smarter than I am. We went through all of these, and they've been updated. So this part of the sheet is important. This has been updated this year. And we've added that late bus has been in there. Of course, it got added last year, but the moral instruction has been added too. It's been in there. That's why I asked Josh if it had been blessed yet, because I wanted to make sure legal had approved it. Everything else is pretty much the same. What we're looking for is everything after the equal sign, basically. So other equals present and exempt. So when you look at that, it has to match. If it doesn't match, it's an automatic discrepancy. Once I'm there, you can't change it. You need to do that before I get there for each school, every single one. It doesn't matter if it's right at the high school. If it's wrong at the middle school, it's a discrepancy. It's wrong. So you have to do it at each school. Elementary, all of them. I know that's dumb, but if you have your elementary set up to be Armed Forces Day, I mean, not Armed Forces Day, but basic training in the military, it has to be right. Don't put it there then. Somebody had it and they're like, well, you don't do it. I'm like, well, you put it in there. It still has to be right. So all of those are in there for you. Now, if you want to go beyond that exempt code, or you come in as a new DPP and you see an exempt code that is not on this list, and you're not sure if you're allowed to use it, you need to let us know. I would have to send that up the chain. That is not for me to decide. We do have a list of exempt codes that some districts have beyond this list that have been approved. Don't ask me what they are. I have no idea. That's beyond my approval. But questions? Questions? Oh, no. No, that's what we have.
Okay.
She asked if she was supposed to have the prior attendance report. You should have a copy. I mean, if they, not personally, of course. You would think your district would have a copy. I mean, we always provide a copy. Since I have been here, preface that, since I have been here, I always provide a copy to my districts. Always an email, and Rhonda sends a final one out to the super, the DPP, always. Now, no, that's not what that means. That means that Becky has to go to the archive and find it from the prior year. So I have to go back 5 years. Like for you, as an example for you, I'd have to go back 5 years, find it, if I can find it. That's the fun part. Or depending on the kind of, review I'm doing, if it's JCPS, I just have to go back 1 year as an example. So I'd have to kind of depend on what I'm looking at. But no, that is not for you to provide. That is for me to do. So this is part of my pre-prep work. So that's what all of this is. Any other questions? Michael's having fun. Okay. I was like picking on him. All right. So you guys wouldn't know what these are. So we're going to look at your mapping of your behavioral resolution codes, your P1, 2s, and 3s. Those are, and then we're going to take a look at your all tool rights. That's the big one on this page. Everybody cringes when we talk about this. My biggest thing on this that I have seen, we pull your all tool rights. Biggest thing you all need to make sure of, if somebody left, take them off, please. Don't leave them on there. Somebody goes, well, you write me up for them. I'm like, because they still have access to everything. Every child, personal information is still accessed by that person that retired. You don't know if they have access at home. My gosh. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, somebody's retired, quit, left, whatever. Please pull them immediately if they've got full access. This is full access. I don't even have this. So you need to be super careful with this one. Whether you have control over who has this or not every district's DPP does. I don't know. I just know that some DPPs that I deal with don't have the say. We like to say 5 or less. That's just what I've been told when we do it. I see 10 and you're an independent, I'll be like, what are y'all doing? Why y'all need 10? You know, you're gonna have to explain to me why you need 10 people. We can go to JCPS and they've got what, 3 or 4? They have 5. Okay. JCPS is humongous and they only have 5. So maybe that's why they say 5. You can tell me why you need more than 5. Just remember, all tool rights is everything. Every single thing. They can do whatever they want. Superintendent, even though she was a DPP, does not need it. I'm just saying. Normally supers would never have it. Now, if you're small independent and your super was your DPP, they may have it because maybe you don't have enough people. I've seen that, and that's fine because you only have like 2 people. Questions about that? All right. So digging further into the central office, we're going to run down and look at your ADM ADA. You know, we're going to look at your, just kind of take a look at these and see what matches. We're going to look at your growth factor. Again, months 1, months 2. I'm just going to keep repeating that because we get questions. I'm not going beyond. We don't do that. Even if something red flags us, we don't go beyond that. It's always months 1, months 2. We don't go beyond it. So we're going to take a look at that. So as you'll notice here, tool search and path and the bolds. If you hadn't noticed on previous slides, that's how we find things on our end. And this is the new look path and tool. So everything has been updated from the old look to the new, been flipped. We had it last year too, but I didn't use it. I didn't want to. Because when I get into your all stuff, I open up how you all have it. When I would open up old, and then I would open up new. So I had 2 copies because it would drive me crazy. So anyway, so if you ever wonder why we can't match on something, sometimes we would run reports maybe differently. That's how we get to things. So if you're ever curious as why did you get that or how did you get to that, that's how we do it. So anytime you see something bolded, those are the paths we use to get to them. But we get a lot of questions about how did you run that report? There it is. So all of the bolded ones are in there. So sometimes we have the path and sometimes the search. So I still do search in the new look because I still can't figure it out. I will be the first to admit that. I'm glad Josh isn't in here. So yeah, has helped me a lot though, but I still tool search and flag it with favorites. So anyway, as we're looking at this, basically what we're doing is we're looking for this comparison here on this chart on the left. So we're looking to match these 2 numbers, for 1 and 2 in the funding mode in the ADM ADA to your growth factor R2. You want to make sure those 2 numbers match. Normally they do, sometimes they don't. If they're more than a 15% discrepancy though, which I've only seen once, I'll have to go over it with like, hello friend. Oh, that's our work phone. Sorry. I was like, why does that ringer sound familiar? Sorry. That's what it sounds like when y'all call us. Yeah, that's sorry, that's gonna throw me off now. So that's what we're looking for when we're doing this here on page 6. We're kind of just looking for these to see. Again, pre-work. Just looking to see if there's anything we need to be ready for when we get there, questions we may have. Rarely do I see a percent difference of 15. If I do before I go, I tag Rhonda and I'm like, did I miss something? Did I add wrong? what I do. And I have. So kind of squished them all together because they're so together. But yeah, so that's what we're doing when we look at your ADM ADAs before we come. And the thing is, too, before we come, you guys might have tweaked it 5 times before I even get there. You know, so, and that's the other thing. Because by the time I look at it, I'll be like, oh, which is fine. So, just kind of gives me an idea if there's something I need to look at. So, all right, so while we're at the central office, I'm going to do this twice because I love it. Now, while we're at the central office, we're going to look at the master bells, and then we're going to look at them again at each school. So when we get to the school section, you're going to hear this again. But while we're at the central office, we are going to look at your master bells. We want to see that it's been approved and in the board minutes. You have to show me your board minutes. It's on your computer. I don't care. Just flip it around and show it to me. If you don't want to print it, that's fine. Some people are like, do I need to print it? No, just show me that it's been approved. It's fine. But if they're a wet signature, then yeah, you have to show it to me like a hard copy. So everybody's a little different, so I'm not super picky as long as I know it's been approved. Also want to make sure that it's kept there somewhere at the board office. So, okay, so we're just looking into those start and end times, you know, in the board minutes. So it's got to say something. Also, we're going to be, when you're in the board minutes, they should be doing the calendar too. Do that all at once, normally. They should. How boards are. That last bullet's for me. Don't worry about that. We have an extra form for something else. So anyway, so on this one, we're just basically looking at your minutes. So like I said, if you have them printed, great. If not, you keep them electronically, that's fine too. I've seen both, as long as somebody signed off on them and marked them approved. That's all I'm looking for. About the only time I really need to see a lot of board minutes. All right, so then I'm going to jump into the ad hocs, and I'm going to pull a couple of reports. I'm going to look at your out-of-state report, and I'm going to pull the non-resident, non-contracts reports. I don't really see a lot of this anymore on in my area. We're just looking to see if there's anybody on it. The biggest one is the next one, the CDEs, your kids, your district employees. Now, this is a big one, only because this is one of the reports that LRC likes. This one right here, the CDE one, the 2.13. Don't ask me why. I was told that. So, CDE, we understand what that means. Okay. All right. If you have an employee that works in your district and they've got a kiddo, it goes there too, but they live outside. Outside. Flag them. Not in. Don't flag them. I'm gonna see 500 kids on that report because I'm gonna turn around, hand it right back to you and go, you gotta fix all this right now. And that's a big one. Because a lot of that rolls. So that's an easy one to fix because it can be big depending on your district size. But yeah, that can be pulled and pulled into an Excel spreadsheet. You can flip it, turn it, hide it, pare it all the way down to who's currently in school and take a look and see who's flagged as a CDE. That kid lives in your district, you need to unflag them. That makes sense. Because I know that was a big source of confusion for a lot of people. Not getting feedback from the back row, so obviously I must have said it right too. So, okay. All right, no questions? Okay. All right, I know it's confusing and it's kind of a pain. We always get a ton of questions on it. Everybody in here's done home hospital. Is that correct? You done it? Have. Okay. Well, I'm not going to bore you with the details if you've done it. So everybody in here has done it. I'm just going to do this. Who's got questions? Because there's no point in me going through this whole thing, 2 sheets of it. Because I know everybody in here, you've done it. So does anybody have, you already had your question, Sam. Does anybody have questions on home hospital? Because it really hasn't changed, even though we're trying. Have you had any big ones, Sash? Questions about home hospital this year yet? No? Okay, I'm sorry. Sure. So yeah, paperwork is the same. The paperwork is still out there on our website to be filled out. ARC trumps everything that we look at. So if I pull up that home hospital and I see ARC, I'm like, here, don't even look at it. I just move on. ARC trumps everything that this group, this division looks at. So this just goes through what we're looking for, stuff we've always looked for, application, signatures, making sure that it's gone through the process. More than 5 days, they have to have how many visits for every 5 school days? Huh? Correct. 2 1-hour visits for every 5 school days, not weekdays. So if you've got a holiday, your break, whatever, it's just 5 days. So with the scheduling that we've got for you all to fill out, you've got the capability to scratch out the weekend. You've got the capability to black it out and count. My suggestion is you do that, because when you don't do that, that's when I catch a lot of errors, especially Labor Day. Guess what? That's within your 2 months. That's where I find a lot of errors, is that one day. Labor Day is the biggest holiday I find errors every year, every single year. Suggestion is you count out your weekend. I hate this thing. When you count out your weekends and your holidays and you black that out. Because inadvertently somebody is going to forget that that Monday is a holiday, or they count past it or whatever, and they forget to go give that kid a service. It's a 2.5 day absence. So what we're going to do is we're going to look, try to see for that child, and check your teacher. We're going to compare them and make sure if not, they don't match, they didn't have services, unless I can't count, which I have been corrected. I don't mind that, but we're going to have to change it to an absence. So be careful. It's very easy to do. So at the bottom here, this home hospital validation, there's 2 reports if you pull it up. And I see Josh created both of them. They're great little tools. They're not little tools, but they're great tools. They're very helpful to let you know in general if you've got errors. Okay? It'll highlight yellow if you've got an error. Doesn't have to be cleared. Especially if you've got, say, a child on home hospital with a chronic illness. I had one yesterday, girl going through chemo. She's not going to get any better. She's going to be on chemo for the year if she makes it through the year. So she's going to go past that 6 months that they talk about. You have to have it every 6 months, blah, 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 blah. Kid doesn't need to go back for 6 months. So she's going to flag yellow after 6. Just go on. But that's what that's for. So anytime that you run that with your kids and there's an error on there, take a look at it, make sure that you didn't have a typo, make sure that you've got all your information that you need to get in there. I use it a lot and I really like it. So Josh worked hard on it. So he's back here looking at me like, okay. All right. Questions on a home hospital before I please? All right. All right. So the last thing in the central office that we're going to do is we're going to talk about your underage kids, if you've got any. I don't get a lot of these. I have a handful, I think, the whole time I've been doing this. But the one thing I do want to know is if you've got a policy. Need to see it. Really all I need on this one, board policy. So a lot of the central office board policy, gonna need to see, minutes, things like that. So stuff that you're gonna store in your office or somebody's office up in central office. Then we're gonna sign off and move on. to the schools. So this can, depending on your home hospital, because a lot of people ask me, how long? When should I call the next person? When should I do this? When should I do that? I'm like, well, it depends. Do you like to talk? Yeah, a lot of people like to talk. If you have 2 home hospital kids, I can get through this, kind of like the music. I can do that in 2 notes. You can do this, and I could probably do this in 20 to 30 minutes if you've only got a small number of home hospital. You have a very huge number of home hospital, like I had one location, I had over 100. I wasn't prepared for that. I mean, I was because I saw it, but I was like, good grief, they had a lot more than I expected. I just do like 25% of that because I would sit there all day long looking at 100 kids if they're not all ARC placed. So I have to flip through every app in 2 months of services, if it's a full 2 months. So it can depend. I can spend an hour to 2 hours on this, or I can spend 20 to 30 minutes. So it just fluctuates. So everybody always asks how long. I don't know. But once we do this, we usually roll into the high school, middle school, elementaries. But I always tell people I'm flexible. I don't care. I'll do it whatever way you need me to do it. And, whatever your attendance people need to do, if they have butts duty and lunch duty and stuff like that, then we'll switch it around. But I don't really want them sitting outside waiting. Really hate that. A lot of people do that. They'll just call them all in at once and I'm sitting outside. It makes me nervous because then they're like, well, that's not fair. They got stuff to do. I mean, So anyway, once we're done with this, we'll move on to the next person or persons if you bring 2 or 3 people. So you have questions about the central office? Okay, school review. Fun. All right, so for those of you who haven't had these, we do every high school, every middle school, and half of your elementaries every time you have an audit review. If you have 1 elementary, we're just going to do the 1. We're going to do half of it. We're just going to do 1. Somebody asked me that once, and I went, and then they started laughing. I went, oh, okay. So what we do is with the list that we have, we just take the opposite half of what we did last time and do it this time. Now, if you have new schools that have been built, we will pick on those. So in that detailed list that I send you 2 weeks before, your list that will include your schools. If you have a new school and I didn't catch it, please let me know. I just go with the data that I have. If I pick a school, which I did last year, it's not done, please tell me that too. I was like, oh, I thought it was done. They were like, no, it's not done. But okay. Like there's nobody there. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, anytime I make a boo-boo, just let me know. I just go with what I've got. Sometimes the data is not always updated on our website. That Open Door website is not controlled by us anymore. It's controlled by you all. So if that's not updated, I go with the flow on that. And anyway. So yeah, if I say something that I need to audit and you're like, hey, that doesn't exist, please just let me know. Okay, so what we start with, when we meet here with the schools, we usually meet with your attendance clerk. I use that as a general title. I don't know what your titles are. Whoever is the one person that deals with this, that's the person I want to meet with. I don't care what their title is. If that person's not available, whoever is best to answer most of these questions would be great. If there's 2 of them, that's fine. I don't care. I've had somebody bring 5 people before. That's fine too. Just make sure you got enough room for all of us. That's all I care about. What I'm going to ask 1 to 5 people or however many people are in there, have you had training by your DPP? We just want a yes or a no, that they understand how to do their job. They understand how to use IC. They understand what you want them to do. That's the first one. Second one, pass-through monitor check. I'm going to take 4 random days in what? First 2 months. Good girl. First 2 months, I'm going to take 4 random days. 2 days. There's your phone. 2 months from, or 2 days from the first month, 2 days from the second month, usually is how I do it. randomly look at your attendance. We're going to find out who takes attendance and who doesn't. You all will already know before I even get in. You're gonna be like, yeah, I know. So, but what I have noticed, at least with mine, middle and high, sometimes we got some random classes in there that are set up that are not meant for attendance. If that's the case, just let me know. I usually just kind of hand them to the DPP and be like, sometimes the clerks don't know. So if the clerks are the people working in these jobs, if they don't know and you guys know, just tell me. So, and the last thing that we look at here, we're going to look at your schedule gaps. See if any of your kiddos have some schedule gaps in here. If we do, we just, let y'all know about that. All right. The next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at your entry exit logs. Who has paper? Who has electronic? Anybody have electronic in here? So let me know what you've got when I get there. If you've got electronic, just tell me what you've got so we can figure out how to be looking at this stuff, because normally it's just paper. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did for your classroom monitor. I'm going to pick 4 random days, 2 in the first month, 2 in the second month. And I'm not going to tell you which days they are until I get there. And I'm going to tell you when I get there, and then your people, before they come over, they can just bring those 4 days with them. What we're looking for is to make sure you have everything that the statute requires on this page: date, name, times, grade and or homeroom. It doesn't matter which one, just one of the 2. Parent, guardian, signature line, especially for what grades? There you go. Gotta have it. Elementary. Wet signatures have always been the standard, but now we can finally say electronic is blessed. So you can do electronic signatures. So that's the first thing I'm going to look at. Is just going to look at one page, make sure all that's on there, and move on. Once I pick those 4 days, we're just going to look at the data in IC versus the hard copy. Excuse me. A lot of districts have reasons. That's totally fine. I just need to see all of that. Doesn't have to be in any order. Some people get worried about the order. Doesn't matter. So, but what we're comparing to is what your person has put the data entry in. If you have electronic, I need to understand how that's done. So your paper copy compared to your IC. So don't bring me your IC. I already got that. I just need to make sure, because we're looking at your time. So if little Johnny came in at 8:15, it needs to say 8:15 in, not 8:27. That's what we're looking for. Make sure that you keep your entry exit logs for a year, plus the year you're in. Beyond that, that's up to you all and your board. Usually I just ask the person that's sitting in front of me if they know that. They usually don't, and that's fine, as long as somebody knows. Again, there's the export reuse to pull those out. I pull them out in Excel. I can flip them around and use them. Everybody does that one a little differently too. And then after all of that, the high school is the worst. I'm probably going to have 20 pages at some places, but hopefully not. When I do that, speaking of which, if I pick a day randomly, like I did last year, unfortunately, I picked a shooter day that I didn't know. If I pick a shooter day, please let me know I have picked a shooter day. I do not want to look at all 500 of your children checking out. I will pick another day. I did that. I was like, oh, dear Lord. So I'll pick another day. I can't keep track of all the stuffs. So yeah, if there's a natural disaster or something going on that day, your building flooded because the pipe burst or whatever, just tell me to pick another. Just Becky, pick another day. Good Lord, that was the worst day ever. I'll move on to another day. But yeah, I did pick it was awful. I was like, ugh. Anyway, so yeah. because I know everybody likes to skip on Fridays. Anyway, all right, so we're back to the master bells. We're going to do this again at the school level because we want to make sure that your schools have a copy of the master bells. Where we look at the period setup this time to make sure that, you know, they've got it. What we're looking for is a little bit more detailed this time. We want to know what the school level has. It's a little bit different for the middle and the high versus the elementary, but, you know, we want to make sure that we don't have any gaps in between all of that. We allow 5-minute passing time in between. Beyond that, it's a discrepancy. We want to make sure basically that it matches what you all have at the central office. You'd be surprised at how many differences we have. It does happen quite a bit. I thought I had, oh, I do. There it is. So this is kind of what I'm talking about in the NIC. We're looking at that specifically to kind of make sure that that flows. Anything beyond that needs to be under that non-instructional. So that's what we're looking at in NIC when we're looking for stuff like that. And that's kind of an easy fix for most. I can't say it totally is because I don't work in there, but. So while we're in the period setup, we're also going to look at your calendar summaries. Look at your variable and your traditional calendars, take a look at that, make sure everything's set up right. We're going to look at your hours and your days and make sure you've got the minimums that you need to be having. And this time of year, usually everything's fine. Usually when you come see me in June, you kind of get a lot of boo-boos. Things happen. We know that, especially this year. This year was a mess, which is why calendars took us so long because of everything that happened at the end of the year for a lot of districts. That's why calendars took us so long. But anyway, we just check all of this and we make sure everything matches. Are there questions about this? Okay. All right. All right, so the next 2 slides are going to be about virtual performance based. This is not, and I mean not, my strong suit. I'm the first to admit that. I've never seen one of these set up, literally. And I'm a visual learner. So this one, you know, but we don't see this in elementary. So we just zip through this at the elementary schools because there's nothing to look at, although I do run it anyway. We run these ad hocs. We run the virtual performance-based ad hoc, and we run, the next slide will say the same thing, the performance-based ad hoc. We see if you have any kiddos on these reports. If you do, for the virtual performance-based, we're going to look at the course selection and kind of just go from there and look at how that course is set up or courses are set up. These are not supposed to be marked for attendance. Yeah. Now, if it was performance-based, boop. If it's performance-based, it can be marked for attendance if you have a certified teacher. And I just ask the question. I don't go, give me their certificate. I don't care. Just tell me yes. Then you can mark them for attendance. They all could do the credit recovery and dual credit classes too. So we're looking for that at basically your high and middle schools. And here, I always ran it earlier in the review, but we put it here. This is where we're going to start running your funding gap. Not a requirement, but this is a good place to run it. Funding gap report will tell you if any kid is on this report, they're not getting full funding, and that's okay. If they're like special ed or whatever, not meant to be cleared. It's a confusing report for most people. And for me at first, especially, because I was like, I do not understand. If the 2 totals in the columns add up to be 93%, they're getting full funding. That's the main part. But basically what we're doing is we're looking to see, making sure everybody in there between the 2 are getting full funding. Sometimes it's just special ed kids that are on there. So having a problem with a kid and something with attendance, run that report and see if there's something going on. So. All right. All right. Register reports, ADM, ADA. Guess what? We're going to look at months 1 and 2. All right, so we're gonna have your school personnel bring over their months 1 and 2, their hard copies. Not a copy, I want the originals. If I need a copy, I'll make one, but I need to see the originals because I need signatures. Normally that's your principal, doesn't have to be, it's whoever is designated to sign them. They need to be signed off by the certified personnel. Doesn't say a principal, that's just usually who it is, doesn't matter. As long as I see. Sometimes I see a stamp, that's fine. So again, we're doing the same thing. We're just kind of making sure everything matches. Everything is balanced. Again, we like to repeat. But no, this is really what we're looking at. This is Josh's slide that we stole, right? Yes, thank you. Thought so. Yeah. All right. So when we pull the register report, beautifully color coded. I don't know if that came out in color or not. Okay, so your ADM on the left must match. Oh, these are old. Must match the ADM on the right. And then same thing for the ADA. And then at the bottom, you've got to match purples. So that's what we're looking for in these reports. And that's how we're going to be doing it. That's why the example is there. Now, super small example. If you would like a bigger one, just let me know. I'll just email it to you. But that is the basic way of how we're going to be looking at those reports and what we're specifically going to be looking for when we do that. And that is by grade. So yeah, 6th grade. Sorry, I can't hardly see between there and here. That's why I have to keep moving. So, but yeah, Josh created that for him, and then we stole it because we were having a hard time. Everybody kept asking us. We were like, Josh. So yeah, that's how we work through that. The visual aid is super helpful, especially when you get into the field and you go, wait a minute, what was I doing? All right. IEPs, which is our favorite discussion besides home hospital. No. All right. So IEPs. So we are going, anybody that's going to have a T5, what does that mean? So if you're going to get 5 times the money, we're going to pick on it and we're going to look at this and we're going to make sure that you're supposed to be getting 5 times the money. So anytime you have a T5, you have to have an IEP attached to it. It has to be specifically in the IEP that that kid needs special transportation. The dates have to match. That is a big one. I see that a lot. The dates don't match. So when you set them up, make sure those dates match. If they don't, you're going to lose some money. You don't want to lose that money. So double check. It's an easy report to run too, but it's also an easy mistake to make. So check those dates. And sometimes those kids pop on and off, and I know that's a pain for you all, but that money is good money for you, so double check it. Now, we do get a lot of questions on this about siblings, bus riding. You guys have any T5s with siblings? Anybody in here? I'm not gonna worry about it. All right. All right. Now, once we get past the T5s, we're gonna run the other ones, the overlapping, missing, and inundated T codes. We're gonna check all those reports. Look at your overlapping. You've got multiple T codes that are crossed over the same dates. We're going to make sure that no kid has a missing T code. We're going to make sure that no kid has an undated T code. Sometimes it's school to school. Sometimes it's district to district issues. I've had both. Sometimes we have to dig around to figure out what the problem is. Sometimes it's year to year. So We have to figure out what's going on with those. At the top, we skip over that part because of the way it rolls into the next one. We do take a sample of the T code verifications. Are most people still do? Is everybody rolling into the, what is it, OLR? Is everybody using that now? Not everybody. Okay. If you still have paper, transportation completing people, and we're gonna have to look at that. We'll just spot check it, depending on how you keep your paperwork. If you have OLR though, there's really nothing for me to look at. So that'll be just a question that I have. You know, do you have your parents complete paper or do they do it online? They do it online, we'll just make a note online and then I'll move on. If they do paper, I'll be like, show me the paper, and then I'll just spot check a few to make sure it was data entered correctly. So most people are going to be going to OLR at some point, I guess. That's kind of why I skipped that. Sorry. But hey, does everybody understand those? Does everybody run them? All right. All right, withdrawal codes. We run these, looking for kids that withdraw. We try to do as many reviews of these kids beforehand as possible. So if I can look at some of these codes NIC before I get there, I will. W-22s, which are records requests. If you've got them in there, I'm going to look at them. If not, you're going to have to show me when I get there. If you've got 24s and 29s, 24s moved out of state. 29s are, what are they? Out of country. Yeah. Oh, 24s are unknown, right? 24s are unknown. 29s are out of state, out of country. So if you've got notes in there and you've done some due diligence on 24 and 29, I'm just going to move on. Make some notes. I'm fine with that. You're not going to get records requests for people moving back to Mexico, India, China, wherever they go home to. It's fine. Just make a note, let us know, and we'll move on. Yep. Right. Yep. Yep. And I know that can be tough. But I will need to see the homeschool kid letters. You got kids dropping for homeschool, you're going to have to provide that to me when I come in for the first 2 months only. That's it. I don't want to see the rest. You know, I have one. I just need one. That's all I need. So when I pull that list, I'm going to pull everything out that I don't need. So that's pretty much what we're looking for, just those codes. We're not looking for district to district. We're not looking school within your district transfers and stuff like that. We're looking for the big ones. I have a lot in the northern Kentucky area, or yeah, northern Kentucky rolling into Ohio. Kids missing, stuff like that. So can't control it all. We know that. Just make a note. All we can do. Okay. Suspensions. Oops. Screenshot. Sorry. All right, so we're gonna look at your suspensions. Anytime you've got a suspension, we're gonna need to see your letters for those kids that were suspended on that list for the first 2 months of the year. Depending on how you do that, every district is different. Does everybody here print, or do you keep them electronic? You print? What about you guys? Do you guys all print and hang on to them? Everybody's a little different. I had one that didn't even have a letter. Like, okay, that's interesting. How do you let them know? Slap them on the hand? I mean, yeah, yeah. I was just curious. All right. So we just run that for the, for the first 2 months again. And we make sure that Parents and guardians have been notified that that kid's been suspended for whatever date's there. Make sure those dates match. They do get modified. If you modify them, please modify them NIC. It's fine. You all know what's best. You've decided that 5 days is too many. You've decided to just suspend for 3 and you write 3 on the paper. Go NIC and modify it to 3. Because if I come in and pull it and it still says 5, it doesn't match. So you got to fix that. So, or whoever needs to fix that. Now, there's a Safe Schools report that we run, and it's not anything that is a discrepancy. It's more or less just a reminder. That is a good report to run because for you all on your end. If kids come up on that report, you've got an error somewhere and you need to fix it. It's a timing error. I wouldn't do it like the day they got suspended. But if it's 2 or 3 months old, you've got some timing issues. You need to go in and take a look at that kid. So most of the time it's blank. That's what you want. You want to run that report, you want it to be blank. But if it's not blank, take a look at that kid, take a look at the time. Typically it's a time issue on that. If I've run it and you hadn't, I'll just hand it to you and go, here you go, take a look. And then I just move on. So EHOs, 10 days, Disney, Epcot, wherever. They crack me up. I didn't have this as a kid, so I don't get it, but whatever. On or before, whatever your board policy is, somebody needs to be signing it. Usually it's the DPP. If it's not the DPP, then just let me know who it is. You need a copy. If you sign it after, that's not gonna fly either. So make sure it's on or before. If your policy though, if the board says you have to sign it 5 days before, and you've told me that and I look at it and it's not 5 days before, then that's a problem too. So unless you've got a really good excuse, like you weren't there or something, I don't know. But yeah, 5 days. I enjoy the ones though that make them write a little report. Those make me giggle. Hey, I look at it as at least you made them put in the effort to go to Disney and Epcot. Make them give you a paragraph. Yeah, I grew up with a parent that was a teacher, so I had to write lots of paragraphs, if you can imagine. Okay. AFD, AFRs. Does everybody in here know what they are, even though I probably don't have any with you guys? Yes, no, maybe. I guess confusion over here. I know you know. You probably know. Okay. AFD, AFR. These are our military kids. Don't have a lot in Central just because of where we're located. AFD means day. AFR means rest and recuperation. That is the best way to remember. D at the end is day. R at the end is rest and recuperation. That I play word games to remember stuff. So that's how I remember. Of course, this piece of paper also says day 1. Okay, so if your kid's parent or guardian only is stupid. I know this is being recorded, but I do not agree with this, not anymore. There are too many people in the military beyond your parent or guardian. You only get 1 day if they come back or leave. Day. Day. They leave or return, you get 1 day. Parent, legal guardian. However, been on deployment, doesn't matter how long, deployment, they get 10. I've not seen this. I just know that it's supposed to be some sort of military documentation. I don't know what that is. Please don't ask. Have you seen it? Can it? Can it? Okay. That's what I mean. I haven't seen it. So somebody had just said it had to be military documentation. That's what I was told. So Mhm. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, I say take off. Let's go. I mean, if your parent or guardian's been gone that long, to me, 10 days isn't enough, but that's just me again. So anyway, okay, note, email. I'm fine with that too. So our recuperation. So I don't get that a lot. Like I said, we don't have a lot of bases around, and I don't have Fort Knox. So, but if you do have a child that comes up like this, you know, please use it. I've seen it. I've seen the day, not the, not ever seen the R, but if you've got it, please use it. That's what it's there for. We'll pay you for it. If you have questions about it and when it comes up, just let me know. All right, we're almost done. 30 pages. Partial day, partial week, IEPs. That's what we need. Partial day. The kid's only coming in for part of the day. We need to see it in the IEP. What part of the day are they coming in? 9 to 12. And still, it usually is in the LRE section, but again, it just has to be in the IEP somewhere. Again, word search. Right. Yeah. Okay. That's why I looked at you when I said it, because I was like, you weren't in here when I was asking the question earlier, and I was like, we were going to change that, and I never got the memo if we were changing it. So my apologies, people. Sorry about that. Okay. Partial day, partial week. Just let us know. I guess that's it. Anyway, but the board still has to approve. Please don't put the children on blast in the board minutes. Don't put their SSIDs on blast in the board minutes either. We all probably know who they are, especially if you're really small. But we don't need to put everybody on blast in the board minutes. You can use some sort of a crosswalk. Child number one. And then over here on the side, you can say child number one is little Johnny. I mean, as long as I know that they've been approved, that's all I'm looking for. I don't need the kid's name on blast in the board minutes. Um, yeah. Yeah. I just haven't flipped the screen yet. They both say the same thing, but I'll move it here in a sec. You want to make sure too, the biggest part right there at the very bottom, fully funded. Make sure you click that checkbox. That's the first thing I'm going to look for when I pull your partial day, partial week. I'm not even going to look for the IEP. First thing I'm going to look for is that fully funded, because I want to make sure that you've clicked that box. Yeah. Oh, it can be after too. Yeah. Were they on it the previous year? Because sometimes it rolls into the next year. Now, if it's rolled into the next year, I usually just go with that. Yeah. What October? I was, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just scary to say I would just have you tell me what they said. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was going to say, I would just have you tell me after they met because I've had that happen. I've had a couple like they would just didn't approve it. So yeah, yeah, and that's fine. And it happens. A lot of that happens. So, yeah. But I've had some roll too. Like the IEP rolls like through October, and I just look from the previous year. So, but yeah, fully funded. Active IEP. So fully funded active IEP. All right. So, and this is the partial week, and it reads the same. Fully funded active IEP. You just want to know that they have been approved for one. Board minutes, same thing. Questions on those, other than the fact that I screwed up the beginning part? No? Okay. If you have questions, though, you can always email me. It's not a problem. Sometimes I know, sometimes I don't know, but I will find out. Okay, over-unders. That's what I call them, over-unders. So we got overage kids, underage kids. Underage kids, we've already talked about the board, having the board approval for the board, the policy, sorry. If you've got some kids enrolled as an underage kid, we want to make sure that they've been tested some sort. They came to you underage, they've been tested before they got there, then you have a copy of that test. Want to make sure the kid is okay to be in school. If the kid is overage, that's fine. But remember, at 21, no more funding. They age out. You want to keep them, that's fine, but at 21, we don't pay anymore. So I've only seen one underage, I think, the whole time I've done this. So never had any overs. Over 21s, I should say. So, all right, this is it right here. Kids leaving campus. Always have to clarify this. People look at me so funny when I ask this question. Do your kids leave campus? Like literally leave. Especially when I'm like at an elementary. And I'm like, you would be surprised at how many little fifth graders go to the sixth grade and play band or something. Literally like across town. It does happen. Very rarely, but it does. Because not every school has music or art or whatever. I just need to know if the kid is leaving. If the kid's leaving, I need to know how you make sure that that attendance is taken. That's really what I care about. Safety, 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 safety. Can't say that enough. It's the same thing about attendance. Safety, safety, safety. Where is the kid? Where are they? Do you know where they are? Are you sitting at the front desk going, hey, I don't know where Johnny is? It says right here should be in homeroom. Not there? Where is he? You're going to regret it if you can't find him. So we want to make sure that there's a process in place if your kids leave the building for any reason to go somewhere else, whether it be college, technical, middle to high, elementary to middle, anything like that. Leaving campus. And I mean campus as if you've got 5 schools, say, in one piece of property. I don't know how else to explain it. And you're going to another piece of property somewhere else, 5 miles down the road. That's leaving. We want to make sure that that another place is taking attendance to say, yes, he made it. You just want to know. That's it. Make sure that you guys are getting that back to make sure. So. It's still good getting it back. You may not be taking attendance on those. Yeah. No. It's the other ones. Basically, what we're talking about is you just know where your kids are. That's really, yeah. And that there's a process in place for where everybody's going. So, all right. That's the end of the boringness. All right. And that's our process. And we're going to do that for every school. So on our website, which is this slide here, if you haven't been there, I know most of you have. If you go to the main page, you're going to see all of this here. And of course, we're here under district sport. You can do a search up there, find whatever. If you can't find it, please let me know. I struggle myself, and because I save stuff, I'm really bad about finding stuff. We are still working on the PAM, which is what we kindly call her. Not really kindly, but the pupil attendance manual, we do update it every year. Rhonda does. About to pull her hair out. We also do the beginning of year checklist, end of year checklist, our data standards, monthly attendance reports. What we just did what Josh does. We have other stuff out there. If there's anything that you need, it should be under there somewhere. And I say somewhere because I don't have it up. But if you can't find something, please let me know. Everything KDE is in that main page, whether it be special education, finance, anything like that is going to be in here. You hit those drop downs and then it'll help you get where you need to go. If not, I will try. Can't make any promises though. So, all right. Those of you having audits. No, I'm just kidding. Now, what questions do you have? No, oh, you're going to have some later. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so this is our contact information. Most of you have it. Those used to have cell phones. We don't have them anymore, but they ring directly into our laptops, as you heard a couple of times. That's our new phones. Ruth is Western. That's Sasha back there in the purple. I'm Becky. Call us anytime. I've got voicemail. Email is probably the better way. I will be in and out the next 2 weeks, but I will get back to you as soon as I can if you need anything.